Well, thank you so very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for holding this important hearing, and thank you for your very strong opening statement, properly critical of the political and partisan decision by the FERC to undermine our nation and our nation's security. Today, we're going to consider the FERC's two recent policy statements on natural gas pipelines and related infrastructure. It is difficult to overstate the damaging impact of these two orders. Damage to our nation's energy supply, damage to our ability to help our allies escape the trap from Russian energy. These policies are going to make it next to impossible to build any new natural gas infrastructure or upgrade our existing facilities in the United States. These orders are going to increase the costs for American families to heat their homes, to power their homes at a time of record 40-year high inflation. And they're going to undermine the reliability of our electric grid. These orders were among the chief objectives of Commissioner Clement's former employer, a group with a mission to block pipelines. And now, for a purely partisan vote of 3-2, a majority of the Commission has delivered on this approach. The Commission's majority is going to claim that it was time to update a 1999 policy statement on natural gas. They're going to claim that the courts required the Commission to consider climate change when evaluating pipelines and related facilities. Remember, the President's climate advisor, John Kerry, didn't want what was happening in Ukraine by Russia and the deaths that were to come to distract from the climate agenda that members of this Commission, in a partisan way, seem to be more focused on than American national security. Neither time nor the courts required the Commission to ram through these orders on a completely partisan basis. Chairman Glick brought these orders forward only after the Senate had confirmed Commissioner Phillips. The majority issued them when they no longer needed to compromise with Commissioners Danley and Christie. And they wrote these orders in such a manner that casts doubt on whether anyone can challenge them in court. It's intentional. Congress intended the Commission to be an independent and nonpartisan. At this point, you wonder if you even need a FERC with the way it's behaving. We now know it is a political arm of the White House, a White House intent on shutting down American oil and gas production. The fact that the Commission issued the partisan orders as inflation has hit record highs and just before Russia's invasion of Ukraine is enough to astonish all Americans. The U.S. Supreme Court has explained the principal purpose of the Federal Power Act and Natural Gas Act. It's to encourage the orderly development of plentiful supplies of electricity and natural gas at just and reasonable rates. We now have a majority of the FERC doesn't agree with the mission of the FERC, doesn't agree with what the mission is, doesn't agree with the law. They want a new mission and are willing to violate the law in the process. This radical, extreme, and dangerous majority now claims that the Natural Gas Act gives it the authority to reject an application for a natural gas pipeline on the basis of climate change. This majority of the FERC claims that it can require applicants to mitigate for climate change and that applicants can pass mitigation costs on to American families. These are sweeping new powers that have nothing to do with the Natural Gas Act. Now, I'm particularly disappointed in Commissioner Phillips. During your confirmation hearing, you assured us that, quote, the cornerstone of utility service is reliability. Went on to say, there are many people who are less fortunate, who depend on utility regulators to make sure that we have energy services that are efficient at the lowest possible reasonable rates. These very people are going to have to decide whether they can afford to heat or to eat as a result of this recent decision. So I can't square those statements with the decision to approve these orders. These orders are going to have the exact opposite effect on what he has promised this committee just a few months ago. We know what happens when partisans block efforts to build or upgrade natural gas pipelines and related infrastructure. Prices continue to go up. The electric grid is put at unacceptable risk. We've seen it in New England, we've seen it in California. We've witnessed it across Europe, where millions have been forced to decide whether to pay their utility bills or put food on the table. This committee has a responsibility to ensure that the Commission operates in a nonpartisan manner, especially on the most consequential decisions. Look, we must insist, Mr. Chairman, that the Commission go back to the drawing board. FERC must make major changes to these orders, changes that can win the support of Commissioners Daley and Christie. This committee should use every tool at our disposal, including our authority over future nominations to the Commission, to ensure that that happens. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.